kind of on the louder side. Hey, I just wanted to read this passage, and maybe I'll just pray for us quick, but we're going to be, as you know, talking about, I'm sure it'll get a little bit broader, but especially focusing on camper discipline, because discipline is the way to life, the Bible says. You read the Proverbs, it's like, look, if you take discipline, you're walking down a way to life, and so we want to offer that to the kids. The Bible tells us, as parents, if you're not disciplining your kid, you're essentially putting a death sentence on them. But we're saying we love our kids, so we want to discipline them at our camp. And so I'm going to just read this passage. This is one of the real simple one that says this. We urge you, brethren, admonish the unruly or the undisciplined, encourage the faint-hearted, help the weak, be patient with everyone. Take that into account. That's like a radical, life-changing command there, right? We urge you, brethren, admonish the undisciplined, encourage the faint-hearted, help the weak, be patient with everyone. See that no one repays another with evil for evil, but always seek after that which is good for one another and for all people. Always seek after that which is good for one another and for all people. Father, I just thank you so much for us getting to be here today. I thank you so much for Kelly especially putting so much work into organizing all this. I pray that you would just give us alert minds and open hearts to change, to have our sin revealed in the way that we normally go about discipline or in the way that we fight against discipline, that we would have our minds really enlightened by your truth, that we would learn to love discipline, but also to do it the way that you would have us. We just really need your Spirit to guide us. I think we're just asking for wisdom here, and we trust that you will give it to us. And thank you so much again for this opportunity to be with brothers and sisters, and it is just such a gift, Lord. So we say thank you, and please guide us now to just be practically serving you well, according to what you've allowed us to know and taught us through these things. Amen. Amen.
So, many of you who are less familiar with us, I am Kelly. I'm the director for this week of camp. I've been putting together doing all the behind the scenes work for a couple months now to get ready for this week. And then we also have Ashley and Neil and Jason, who couldn't be here today. He was on his way to a much needed vacation. They are the deans for our week of camp. So we are there, we are available to help you, to support you in any way to make this week even better. Because I know the job of a counselor is not an easy one. You guys have just a lot of stuff that you carry, a lot of weight to carry throughout the week. So we are there to help lighten that load in any way we can. So please don't hesitate to come to us if you need anything throughout the week. Because we are totally there for you guys. There's a couple other people who aren't here today. Christy and Jessica are counselors. Chastity, Jay, I can't read that one upside down. Carmen, and Denny are not here today. But they are going to be catching up with us on video once I post that online. So they're right on track for the rest of us. But thank you for being here today. Like Neil said, the big thing that we're talking about is discipline. So if you can pull out of your folders, there is this piece of paper that has less doodling on it than mine. This is camper discipline, which is right on the left. This is the main thing that we are going to be going through. So we're going to read through this today, give comments. Please, if you have any questions, stop us, ask them. We want you guys to understand everything with this, to be using this. We want this to become second nature next week. So please, if you have any questions, stop us and we will talk about it. So our role, like Neil said from Proverbs, is to teach a child the way he will go, and in the end he will not depart from it. And we want to understand discipline to be an opportunity to lead a child in a process that shows options and treats them with dignity. We want to be an example and promoter of successful behaviors to create habits that will lead to true transformation of the heart. We don't just want good behavior. It's not our goal. And we want to be instructors, not authoritarians. Discipline, we want to remember December is about teaching kids appropriate behaviors to help them become independent and responsible people. These aren't things that come naturally, especially for kids who grow up here. They just do not have these skills, so we're on the front lines teaching a lot of this stuff this week. A key part of growing up is learning how to deal with the results of your actions, or consequences if you're fancy word for that. But learning to deal with that, learning to handle that, learning that your actions do have results, and owning up to that, whether it's good or bad. It's not a quick fix, it's a process that all of us are part of this week. Similar to spiritual disciplines, we have to practice these things for them to become reality. It's not heartfelt the first time kids do these things. It's fake. It's following the script that you are giving them, essentially. But just like with spiritual disciplines, we practice those things and it becomes something that's heartfelt. This discipline stuff is the same way. We hope we practice it enough this week that it's something that is going to become a normal part of their life. That it doesn't feel so crazy and strange to say, I was wrong, I could have made a different choice. I'm going to do that different next time. Or even to ask for forgiveness and apologize and pray about what they're struggling with. We want those things to become second nature for these kids. So what we need as a team for camp is just to be unified. We need to be consistent. We have this system. It's a great system. It worked fantastically last year. It worked really well because people are on the same page. And you guys did an awesome job of that, those of you who are coming back. So thank you for that. And we need to do that again this year. We need to be unified more than anything else and consistent with the kids. Something that I learned along the way working with kids is I used to feel like, as the person in charge, like that authoritarian mindset. That's just what comes naturally to us, I think, so easily while working with kids. Where I'm the one on top, in charge, I give you the rules and you better follow them, and if you're not, I'm gonna make sure you do. It doesn't work that well. It does not work with kids. And along the way, I just got a change in perspective, that it's more like there are these standards there. Really, they're God standards, but we're putting a couple other specifics in there this week of rules. But really, they're standards. They're what we expect them to do this week. It's like those standards are up there, and we get to be the people who come alongside and guide the kids through it. Much more instructor, guide. It's great because it puts you in a place where you can be really empathetic, where the kids are like, man, I can't wear my flip-flops, and you can be like, yeah, it stinks, I wish I could wear mine too this week, but we're going to follow the rules. You get to be that person who comes alongside them and helps guide them through, this is how you have a good attitude with rules, this is how we're going to do things this week. So it's a totally different mindset than someone who is the authoritarian, someone who's the commander or in charge, demanding that people follow certain things. So I know it's not easy to learn, but it's a great place to be when you work with kids, because it really does. It frees you up. They're not battling against you anymore. They're battling against the standards. They're battling against the rules, and you get to be the guide in that. So we do need to be strong on rules, strong on boundaries, strong on these standards, but it's freeing at the same time because we can come alongside the kids and kind of guide them through. So what we need so much is consistency between the counselors. That's going to help in amazing ways. And sometimes, some years past, we've had situations where a kid's talking during rest time and their counselor has just had it up to here with them this week already, and they're just like, okay, you lose pool time for the rest of the week,
Right.
You're not having any free time anymore, and they just snap and take so much away. And then we'll have other counselors who are like, if you'll be quiet for the next 5 minutes, I'll give you a lollipop. Very different methods of discipline. We want to come together on the same page and kind of do things the same way, because it really does help the kids out if we're consistent between us. So, yes, someone else want to read?
Yeah, we can start with the importance of it.
Yes, sir.
Discipline must be viewed as an opportunity for growth and not just a negative experience for both parties. It's like Ashley always talks about, keeping kids discipling is the idea there, discipline and cycling. We must be consistent with our discipline system. It is not fair to the campers if one counselor tends to be extremely lenient and the other gets away with anything, while another counselor is actually following a system in place. So that's exactly what Kelly was just saying. Many of our campers don't have rules in place at home, so we need to make sure that we clearly communicate with them the first night that we do have rules. Well, that'll be the fun part of today. We'll be talking about how you guys are going to help to communicate those to them in our first day there. Too often we want our campers to like us, so we don't enforce the rules at the beginning. However, by the middle of the week, when we want to start enforcing the rules, we don't have any credibility with that because we haven't enforced them up till then. Make sure you enforce the rules starting the first night to make it easier on yourself. So I know what Kelly was saying about being the authoritarian. There's also the opposite end where you're just like, well, what can I say? Or I want to be cool, or they're not going to like me if I do that. You're again leading them to death if you're not lovingly disciplining them. And just real quick story of that, there's this one time, I don't know if I was being too strict, but I told the kid that if people were talking while I was getting frustrated, so it might have been too strict, but I told them very clearly that if somebody talked while I was giving the instructions, I made it like real clear. I said it 3 times, then they weren't going to get to play in the last Gaga game because kids were just going crazy. And there's this one kid that just, started yelling or something like that. And I said, and I was like, I didn't want to. I knew the kid was going to hate me and be upset, but I was like, I said it 3 times. I was really clear about it. I got to stick to it. I pulled the kid over. He was upset, angry. And then like later that night after campfire, he was talking to me about the decision he made to follow God or about his interest in God. And it was just a really cool example. Like here I was like, scared of this 11-year-old kid because I didn't want to be like, him to not like me. And, I just held to the standard, and then later and I forget how, like now that's something I take for granted, but I forget how hard that is when you're first doing that. So that was just a cool example of holding the standard and it being a blessing to the kids and to even your relationship with them. Most campers we discipline are crying out for help. They don't get the attention they need at home, so they are trying to get the attention from us by acting out. Don't be afraid to call people out. They will respond to confrontation, and we mean loving call people out. Encouragement. The campers we discipline tend to be the ones by the end of the week that don't want to leave. Again, another example of that, we're putting them to projects all the time, and they're missing out on pool time because we're lovingly disciplining them, and then they can't stop hanging off our arms because they love us. That's honestly the way it works when we do it in love. They find that keeping kids at Camp Conquest a safe place where they can just be the kids they deserve to be. They truly are home with their brothers and sisters in Christ.
In the next section, facts that cause or contribute to discipline problems. The kids might be hungry, tired, or sick, so take that into consideration. They could be bored due to needing something more challenging, or bored or frustrated because they cannot comprehend the language or the lesson. So they can be bored, or they can act out because they don't have enough to do because they're just like, this is dumb, That happens with me at my work sometimes. I don't challenge the kids enough or invite them to do enough that they can just sit there and then act out because of that. Or if they don't get what's going on, if they can't understand us, they'll act out. They could be seeking attention. They could be pushing you just to see how far they can go. They could have a short attention span. They could have a lack of healthy discipline at home. They could have learning disabilities, emotional issues, or mental illness. They could have a lack of organization by us, like maybe we don't have stuff set up well enough, so the kids don't know what they're supposed to be doing, or we don't know what we're supposed to be doing, and then they act out because what should they do? And it could be because the leader is being condescending or being perceived as unfair because the consequences of broken rules are not being administered consistently. So that means they might see you acting one way when you're frustrated with this kid, but if you're happy, you act a different way with another kid. So they need to see us acting the same way all the time with the kids.
So a big thing that we can do this week is to be proactive to prevent discipline problems. Ways that we can do that is to pray. Pray before the day, pray before the week we have this week. And I would just challenge you guys to really be praying about it this week before we can go. Remind the kids often of the rules and do it in a fun way. Like Ashley was saying, if we're not organized or we're not clearly communicating with the kids what we expect them to do, they can't do what we expect them to do because we didn't tell them in the first place. And that happens more than we think. We just expect that they're going to get what we meant when we said to sit on the blanket, and and they're talking with their friends and messing around and fooling around. Well, we didn't tell them, we expected them to be sitting there. We didn't tell them what it looks like to memorize a verse. They've never done that before. So make your expectations clear, and it'll help a lot. Use a child's name when speaking with them. Praise kids when they make good choices. Especially watch out for kids on your team who are the quieter ones. These kids fly under the radar because they do what you ask most of the time. So take the opportunities to celebrate that. Don't miss that. Because that is an encouragement even to kids who aren't doing well when they see, hey, they give attention to kids who are doing well. And sometimes that helps them too. As much as possible, remove items that are not to be messed with but cause curiosity. Be strategic, separate cliques, and no stirring up trouble, especially during structured activities when they'll be expected to listen. And make sure there's clear consequences. Don't be afraid to sit right in between the kids. We do this at Kingdom Kids all the time. Two kids are having problems, and sometimes, a lot of times it's more effective than being like, hey guys, you need to be quiet, just to get up and put yourself down between them. They'll move, they don't want to be sat on.
And just because I know some people are uncomfortable, like Ashley always shows this really helpful, like, hey guys, and like there's not enough room for me there, but that's okay. Like, hey guys, I gotta, let me get, like, it's like you can do that. I'm not sure what I said, but I just actually shows it. Like, I think sometimes people are, like, am I really allowed to do that? Like, yes, that's totally good. It's helpful. I'm doing it, of course, as quietly as you can do it. I kind of like try to joke with the kids, like, okay, yeah, so man, this won't be okay. Like, they enjoy that, and then you're helping.
Yes. And just with the fun thing, like Lewis and Isaiah do really good jobs sometimes with this. Like, the kids are supposed to be in a line, so you hear them shouting out like orders, like in this fun like sergeant, okay guys, we're gonna march up the hill, and they'll come up with a chant or something to do with it or things like that. And the kids are walking in a better line than like me, who's like, guys, come on, stand straight, you gotta do this, and because they've kind of made it fun, and they stated their expectations in a clear way and made it attractive too, because it turns into like a team competition or something like that.
Appropriate discipline problem solving. This is some stuff that's already mentioned. Present a unified front as a team. If there's a disagreement as to how to handle a situation, follow the direction of the staff and discuss it later. Do not argue in front of the children. And that's been, I think, I've said this before when Ashley and Kelly and Jason are meeting. I think one of our biggest strengths in camp all throughout the years is that, like, there's sometimes with camp where, like, between us counselors, it gets kind of stressful, you know what I mean? Where it's like, why did you do this? Or, like, I forgot something and someone's blaming me for it, or, whatever it is. And it's like, you just feel that, and, like, I feel like one of our biggest strengths has been, like, we've always kept it together, sought reconciliation. Like, even just, like, the littlest things, like, where you're just encouraging each other. And so I just really hope we continue that this year, and I think we certainly want to do that, because that just makes it so fun. Leaders communicate with one another when a child has been disciplined, so if something happens again that day, the next leader will know how to respond. If you guys want to star that one, that's one that is difficult but does happen. And we're going to talk about that especially with our cards. Yeah, thank you. In terms of, like, when they're team time versus counselors, because it just helps really well if they know, like, I can't get away with it kind of thing, our kids are sneaky. Deal with children privately so they are not embarrassed in front of others. Let the child accept responsibility for their actions. Ask the camper to tell you what rule they are breaking and have them tell you what the consequence is for that behavior. Notice you're having them tell that to you so that you know their understanding. There are those sometimes when they really don't know, or it's helpful for them to, to say it out loud. So you're asking them to respond as well. You may need to ask them leading questions for them to figure it out. Let them live out the consequences of wrong behavior to a reasonable extent. Ask good questions and make affirming comments that will help a child learn to repent and obey God. Avoid talking too much. You will only confuse them. Guilty. Sorry about that, but that is really helpful. Here's some good, listen to them without judgment. What happened? Give them time to tell the story and ask questions that help them discern what happened. Affirm, this is what Kelly was saying, coming alongside them. Affirm their feelings or frustrations. I'm sorry that happened. That sounds like it was a hard situation. Okay, I'm with you on this. Let them confess. What were some things that you did that weren't right? Tell me some bad choices that you made that you wish you could do differently. Again, giving the students opportunities. Let them learn what is right. you may have to help them and give them options. What would have been a better choice? Again, for some of these kids, we emphasize this, the idea of forgiving another person or not hitting them back is not in their, it's not in their range of options. Kids legitimately think that the right thing to do is to hit the person back because that's what they've been taught. I know, sometimes when I was first here, I didn't always, catch that until I've heard it, You hear the parents say that, and the kids learn that, and they say, no, you're supposed to do this. So just really go all the way back to the basics with kids and make sure that we're giving them opportunity to learn some of those things. And then invite them to pray and pray with them, which is awesome here, to bring things to God, set an example. They may need to repeat after you. Here's an example. Dear Jesus, thank you for my friend Maria. We're going to pray together and kind of see things that you can do to just lead them back to God's truth. Thank you for giving us, God. Please help me now to forgive this person, whatever it might be. And then this is all about the love and discipling stuff. Affirm the child in some way, even if he is not repentant. It is the kindness of the Lord that leads us to repentance, and we are often the instruments of his kindness.
Some of the do's and don'ts of discipline. Never put your hands on a child in anger. If you shove a kid or squeeze his or her arm, shake, yank, etc., you will break trust with that child in a way that cannot be fixed. You can get in trouble with the police or child enrichment, and they can't maybe sue. Do not yell at a kid in anger. Enter into an argument with them or speak unkindly or disrespectfully. You are the adult. Act like it. If you know the rules and consequences, you can stand your ground and just walk the process out. It is so easy to get caught up in an argument with a kid. And if you think about it, it's not helpful at all. It's hard. But that's important. Do not take their behavior personally or emotionally manipulate or guilt trip them into doing what you want. For example, during a craft, the kids were being loud and the leader yelled at them and shared how she gave up her time to be with them, so they owed her to listen up. Do not overpower a kid unless it is for their own safety. Do not define a kid by their behavior, by saying things like, you're a bad kid, you're a troublemaker, don't act like a jerk, you're crazy. This will devastate the kid and cause them to fear you.
Don't be surprised if your kid tries to pull you into saying that about them, because they do. I've learned that in my job. Kids will try to get you to say, oh, you're just bad. They'll be like, I'm bad, say I'm bad, no, I'm bad, I'm always bad. When they're having trouble, don't buy into that, because it's damaging for them. And that's a great opportunity to affirm that they're making bad choices.
And as we're going to talk about the beauty of having this discipline system, it's not I think sometimes in our first year or two, we felt well, then what am I supposed to do? And so we kind of have, it's nice that now we have okay, well, if that's happening and they're totally just not responding to anything and you feel like you need to overpower them in order to get them to do basic stuff, we have now for that, which is really nice.
Do not verbally or physically threaten a child, even in teasing. If you don't follow through with what you say, empty threats will cause them to disrespect you. Do not ask a kid, why did you do that? They often don't know why and will get even more frustrated. By asking why, you're asking for him or her to justify his or her sin.
And on the backside of that, a better question to ask is just what happens. Ask them what about the situation rather than why. So another piece of paper that you have in your folder is this rules sheet. So you can pull that out, we'll go over that real quick, so you know what are our rules at camp, because that's kind of important. Kingdom Kids at Camp Conquest, you can do anything at camp as long as it does not cause a problem for anybody else on the face of the whole earth. That sounds awesome. But some specifics of how that plays out is what we've put on this sheet. And these are things that we really want to be consistent with across the board. We expect all of you guys to follow these things, and these are things we want to be really consistent with applying to kids. And these are always that one rule that you can do anything as long as it's not causing problem for anybody else on the face of the whole earth plays out. Like running down the hill causes problems. It's impossible for kids who have never been on a hill before to run down a hill without falling. And they get all scraped up and skinned up, and that's an awesome natural consequence when it happens, and they never do it again. But we want to be really firm and consistent on we're not running down this district. You can run up them, that's fine. I won't do that for too long. Yeah, so there's other things on here. No bad language or put downs, because we want everybody to be respected. Rest time, we expect you to be quiet in your bed so that everybody else can sleep. Even if you don't want to, we expect you to allow other people to do it.
So I heard Mo snores. So he's not allowed to sleep, right?
My mom said that too. I feel bad for y'all.
I remember Mr. Moon, I never had
You guys have some funny stories.
Another one is no littering, so we don't disrespect God and His creation, and the camp can stay nice for others. Stay with your group so that everybody's safe and can have a good time. Flip-flops are for the pool and the showers only. All other times we wear sneakers so our feet aren't hurt. Use a flashlight appropriately so others can focus and you can keep your own flashlight. And with that, if a kid is turning on their flashlight at campfire, like, you can take it. Because we'll go over real clearly the first night at the beginning of campfire, everybody turn on your flashlights and shine them up here. Okay, now turn your flashlight off and put it away. And if you get it out again during campfire, we're going to take it away. So that's their reminder. And if they do it again after that, just take it, stick it in your backpack, give it back to them the next morning. If they're like, hey, but I can't see to get back to my cabin, you can be like, oh, you're going to be all right because you can walk right next to me and I have my flashlight, so you're going to be fine, you know. Got a solution for you right there. No fighting, it causes problems for lots of people on the face of the earth. No food in the cabins, you got to finish your snacks at the pavilion so that we don't get any critters in the cabins. So,
Are we doing flashlights?
yes, all the kids have a flashlight.
There's light everywhere there. You don't really,
They don't really need a flashlight.
Okay,
Sure.
so guys, this discipline system, this is kind of like the meat and potatoes, the rice and beans, I guess they say, of the thing. So this is, all the other stuff is kind of the theory, which is really important to make this work, but then this is actually how we're actually going to go about it. Okay, so learning this and having it like the back of your hand will be so helpful during camp. Okay, remember to be sensitive to the situation at hand. God is gracious. Please extend grace when needed. So we're going to try to give some examples of like how this cannot just be followed as a completely rigid, like if A, then B, if C, then D. It's not like that. It's human relationships, but this is really helpful structure. So step one is a reminder. Most of the time, the campers that we come in contact with are not used to all the rules that we put over them, so we need to extend grace where grace is due. At this point, when the camper misbehaves, we lovingly remind them that at Kingdom Kids at Camp Conquest, we have rules that we must follow. There is not a consequence for the action besides a verbal reminder. Discipline needs to be looked at as an instructional time to equip our campers with the tools to promote successful behaviors. Okay, so this reminder is a pretty formal reminder, though. This isn't like the, hey guys, remember, stay with the group, like, as some kids getting distracted by a berry, and then he comes right back. Like, I don't think we count that as like the reminder. This is the kid is doing something that's clearly wrong or wandering off, and you say, John, remember, this is your reminder. Remember, this is your reminder. You need to stay with your group, and that's the rule, okay? Next time there will be a warning. So this is kind of, you're giving them a formal, very clear, next step is the warning, so they kind of are very aware of what's going to happen. So it's a formal reminder. It's very clear. Next is the warning. Okay, at this time, we need to, this is really important here, sit the camper down and go through the discipline card. Okay, so we're going to take out the blue paper here on cardstock or whatever. This is your discipline card. Okay, you'll notice this is a little bit confusing, but it really works well. This is only the second time, so there's still not a consequence. So they still don't have some sort of discipline consequence. They only fill out the card. But this helps them to really recognize, okay, something has been going wrong here. I need to see if there's a different, something needs to change here. So you're having a formal opportunity to talk through them. And then next there will be some sort of action, okay? So step 2 is the warning. At this time, we need to sit the camper down and go through the discipline card. This should enable you to get to the root of the problem. Ask the question on the card, allow them to respond and take ownership. We want to make sure that the camper realizes that they have a choice in their behavior. You may need to draw these choices out for them. Again, you're kind of on the fly, so it's hard to come up with it, but you're trying to help lead them to see, look, you didn't have to leave the group, you didn't have to fight this kid, you didn't have to, whatever it was. Always using the adult voice, which we'll talk about. Remember that this is an instructional time. At this point, this is really important, you need to let them know that if they break a rule again, there will be a consequence for their action. So again, we want our kids to never be like, I'm not sure what the rules are. You need to know, okay, after they got the reminder, even they might not be listening or whatever, we need to give them every opportunity to know, next time we're going to be filling out a discipline card because you're going to have a warning. After you're done filling out the discipline card or during, you should make it very clear the next step is that you are going to have a consequence if you break a rule again. When you leave them after you fill this out, there should be no doubt in their mind that if they do it again, there will be a consequence. And a very important part of this is that you do not tell them what the consequences will be. So you say, what is it going to be? The deans will decide, and it will be a consequence. Because if you say it's going to be one thing, and then we say, well, we can't do that, or that actually doesn't work best, or whatever, that makes it difficult for us. So they know it's a consequence. It's not going to be a good thing. So please, don't do this, but there will be a consequence. So that, again, there's still nothing yet at this, but they should really know that there's something coming up next.
And you can even be like, oh, you don't want to know what the consequence is, and let them use their wildest imagination.
Right.
Because they'll come up with something pretty bad in their imagination.
Yes.
They're good at that. But what they actually are, just so you have an idea, don't ever tell the kids that it's going to be these things because it's different for every kid. But we had kids who cleaned all of the rocks off of the pavement. We had kids who mopped or swept the whole dining hall. We had kids who cleaned up trash through the whole pavilion area. I don't know what other things you guys had.
I had girls clean the bathroom,
Yeah,
do the
taking trash.
toilets and stuff.
And normally during one of the things that they
Yeah.
want to be doing. So oftentimes during pool time or
Right out in the nice hot sun,
Right.
then you're shot of the pool.
Yeah, don't make the assumption too that if we gave one of your kids one project that it's going to be that again, because it probably won't, because we might not need that thing cleaned again, or we might find something that, oh wait, this kid this would be a really good one for them, so we have a chance to personalize it and stuff.
And remember too that the whole point of this is that we don't have to get to a consequence. We don't ever want to have to give a consequence. So, again, the point isn't like, oh look, you got it coming for you, man. It's like you don't want to go there, so this is your opportunity to help them see that. But if you don't specify it. So you notice here you'll have the name. You can either have the kid fill this out, or very often, especially the younger kids, you can do the writing as they talk about it. Their name, what did you do? Again, not the why. When did you do that? What did you want? Again, helping them to get to the root of the problem. List 4 things you could have done. Hey, brother, there's other options. You don't have to hit them back. You don't have to use that language. You don't have, whatever. Then, why these are better. What will you do next time? You just choose one from above. And then again, at the bottom, if you break a rule again, there's going to be a consequence for your actions. Okay, and then an important one at the top right that goes along with the communication. And for anyone that, again, I can get this attitude where I'm like, is this really all necessary? Yes, it helps so much. So at the top right, you see the counselor involved. So if you're the one that's been working with that kid, you're going to write your name up there. And then the cabin senior counselor is going to write their name just to make sure that if you've dealt with it, that you let your senior counselor know about it. So again, it's just to make sure there's communication. Or the team senior counselor. So most of the time, the discipline happens through the cabin counselor, but it could go either way. So if, for instance, it's during team time and you're on the red team and you have Alexander, whatever, have a problem, you should write your name on here, but there should be a cabin counselor on there as well so that they know that it has been reported to them. Is that right? That their name should... So even if the cabin counselor didn't see it, they should still have their name on there because the team counselor has come and reported it, because then there's that really clear communication. And again, if we stay on top of this really well on Tuesday, like the kids, that they just pick this up, like, oh wow, if I do it at team time, they're still going to find out. Or they always find out. It works out really well.
And
I was going to say, you guys did great with that last year. Sometimes communicating between teams and cabins can be difficult. We get that. Let us help with that. If you let us know, hey, there's this problem with this camper on my team, and I need to make sure their cabin knows, and you clearly communicate with us, and we say, hey, sure, I can make sure that happens. I can go do that. like, we can help out in that way too, make sure that communication is happening, but you gotta initiate it.
And we have walkie-talkies, so we'd be like, is anyone with the It's like, that's so fun.
And two with that, like, I think it works that if I'm the counselor and he's the team leader, and I give this, and I tell him, then we don't fill out another one of this with the team leader. They have that already, so they would go to the consequence from there.
Yeah, and so that leads into the next one, that there should only, this is kind of like a loop you could say or whatever, this should only ever be filled out one time before there's a consequence. So right after this, so we're going to give an example, but so you had the kid, you've given them the formal reminder, you've done the discipline card with the letting them know that the consequence comes after that. And then if they do another clear breaking of the rule, it does not have to be the same as the first one or two. It's just any other thing. So the first time it was disrespecting the leader, and then the second time it was excessive loudness with no response during quiet time, and then the third time it is, no, I'm wearing flip-flops, I don't care what you say, whatever, you know what I mean? Those are still, they add up the same way. So by this step, this is action, step 3. By this step, we've already reminded the camper and given them a warning about the rules they need to follow. Contact your senior counselor to fill them in on the situation. Arrange a time for the deans and yourself to meet with the camper. Again, this is normally relatively informal. It's not like we have an